Hi, Studio Art. You need your sketchbook or a plain sheet of paper, a ruler, or if you are at home quarantining and you don't have a ruler, just a straight edge is fine, um, and a pencil. I'm using a darker pencil, but preferably something light that you can erase easily because we're going to practice today doing a street scene in 1 point linear perspective together. And before break, we practiced how to do boxes in 1 point perspective. So the vanishing point is where everything connects to. The horizon line is where the ground ends and the sky starts. If something's above the horizon line, you're going to see some of the bottom. If it's below the horizon line, you're going to see some of the top. And whether it's to the right or to the left of the vanishing point tells you which side of it you're going to see. So looking at the boxes, you can kind of see how those would turn into doing buildings or doing like furniture if you're doing an interior scene in 1 point perspective. So linear perspective is, if things are going away from you in space, they're going to get smaller. So linear perspective is it's a mathematical system developed during the Renaissance that tells you to what degree objects are going to get smaller as they go back in space. So some key things to remember. Vertical. Vertical means perfectly straight up and down. So like when something is a vertical, it's going to be perfectly straight up and down. Otherwise, it's going to look tippy. And horizontal means parallel to the horizon line, so perfectly straight across. So anything that's going to be horizontal is going to be perfectly horizontal. The only things that are going to be diagonal or slanted at all are the things that connect to the vanishing point. So anything that's on the front edge of a building that you're looking at in 1 point is going to be normal, just like you're looking straight at it. But anything that goes away from you in space on the side, it's going to get smaller as it goes back. So those lines are going to connect to the vanishing point. Okay, so to start, flip to a blank page. And doesn't matter if you're using your paper vertically or horizontally, really. But you're going to start with your vanishing point and your horizon line. So to make sure whatever straight edge you're using, this is a 90-degree angle. So if you line this edge up with the edge of your paper, it's going to be perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical. So make sure you do that. It doesn't matter if your vanishing point and horizon line are, close to the top, close to the bottom, either way. But it does matter that your horizon line is perfectly horizontal. You also want to draw it light because there's marks in here you're going to want to get rid of later. And your scene doesn't have to look just like mine. You can be a little creative with it, but it needs to be correct and have some of the same elements in it, even if you don't do them the same way. So I'm going to start with, let's see, I'm going to use, here's a picture that was shot in 1 point perspective over winter break. I was in Miami, so this is on South Beach of Miami. So if you look at the picture of the buildings, you can kind of see how this side of them goes straight back towards the vanishing point, and even the palm trees kind of use the vanishing point to tell you by what degree they'll recede in space. So I'm going to use that as kind of my inspiration, I think. And to start, you've got your horizon line. In this case, I'm going to make my vanishing point over here. It doesn't matter. It could be in the middle. It could be on one side or the other. And I'm going to start with the edge of a building. So to start with the edge of a building, it's going to be just like starting a box. So make a rectangle and then I'm going to go back and erase the horizon line here because you wouldn't see through it. All right. So on this side of the building, any windows are going to be just like I'm looking straight at them. So to do windows on this side, they're just going to be like rectangles. Go back and add some curtains if I want, whatever else. Other details. Maybe at the bottom, I'm going to have a door. And think about the size relationships of things, within your drawing. Like, if you have a door, how big is it going to be in relationship to your windows, kind of thing. Okay. And then this is going to go to my vanishing point. So I'm going to connect just like doing it's like doing a box. You're going to connect the top and the bottom of the vanishing point. So if this is the front, that tells you how much these sides are going to diminish in size as they go back. And then you need to make the cutoff line just like it was if it was a box. So that's going to be perfectly vertical. Okay, so the front is like you're looking straight at it, but the side is getting smaller, so it goes back into space. So that vanishing point is what's going to tell you the angle of like the tops and the bottoms of your windows, the tops and the bottoms of your doors, etc. And how much it slants, whether it slants up or down, depends on whether it's above or below the horizon line. And the vanishing point is always on the horizon line. So if I have windows on this side, the top and the bottom of them are going to go to the horizon line. And then these sides are going to be straight up and down. If I have more windows down here, they're going to slant down because they're below the horizon line. And my door is going to slant down even further because it's lower on the horizon line. If I have a sign on the front, usually when you have lettering, you use kind of guidelines above and below to say how big it's going to be. So my letters are just going to go straight across. But if I have lettering on the side, my guidelines are going to go to the top and to the bottom are going to go to the horizon line. to the vanishing point. But the letters will be vertical. So that just shows you how much they're going to get smaller as they go back into space. Okay, so that's your first building. Maybe you want to make another building behind that that's a little taller. And these windows, I think I made them a little small. I'm going to go back and fix these later. But, so maybe I want to make another building behind that in the row. Maybe I want to make it a little taller. So, I'm going to line up my ruler with the edge of my page. And make the rectangle for the front of that building. And I'm going to stop it right here. I didn't let it go all the way down because this building is blocking part of this. So I wouldn't see the part that's blocking. Right? But then this part looks a little weird at the bottom because this needs to be a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line right here and fill that in. That's kind of like a little alley between those buildings. And then these extra lines here, I'm going to erase. Okay, so with my second building, same idea. Anything this direction on the front is just going to be perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical. So maybe this is a more modern looking building with lots of windows. Then the next step, it's above the top of this building. It's above the horizon line, so I won't see any of the roof. So this corner is going to connect to the vanishing point. So it's going to go down because it's higher than the horizon line. Okay, so that line slants down. I already have the bottom of it because they're in a row along the sidewalk. So the next thing I need to do, just like making a box, right, you need to make the cutoff line for where it ends. So however long you want that building to be, but make sure your cutoff line is perfectly vertical. And then go back and add some windows, or this would be the same idea if you were doing bricks. For the top and bottom of the bricks, they would just be a little closer together. So each time I'm making sure my ruler is touching the vanishing point when I'm drawing my line. I probably need a door. So think about, this door is closer, so it's going to be bigger. This door is a little further back in space, so it's going to get a little smaller. And if I have lettering here, maybe this is a bank. Or whatever you want to make it into. And then add another building. Make them different heights to make it a little more interesting. So again, starting with the vertical. Oh, that's a wonky vertical. You can line up your ruler at the edge of the paper to make sure your verticals are really vertical. This line across the bottom is going to be horizontal. And start with the rectangle. Again, part of it's blocked off by this building in front of it. And then the angle gets steeper as you get closer to your vanishing point. So it's going to tilt down quite a bit. Make the cutoff line. Go back and add doors, windows, etc. Erase out extra lines you don't need. Add a couple more. And the next one's a little shorter. Again, it starts with a vertical, or however tall you want your next building to be on that row. The bottom of it goes straight across. A little space between them at the bottom. And anything on this side is going to be straight across. Connect to the vanishing point. Make your cutoff line. Whenever you're doing anything in perspective, you want to do it lightly in pencil to start, because there's always going to be extra lines that you don't want to show up, but you kind of need them to start. And I'm just going to add one more. Start by making it a rectangle, a little space between them. And then this is very close to the vanishing point, so the angle is going to be really steep. You still need to make your cutoff line. Okay, so for today, start with, get 5 or more buildings on there. Make sure your angles are correct, that everything on this side is drawn straight on. Everything on this side goes to the vanishing point, the tops and the bottoms, but these sides are perfectly vertical. And then tomorrow we will talk about, so get this far, add some windows, add some doors, add some lettering. And then tomorrow we will talk about how to add the street and the sidewalk and trees and other things that you want to know how to do.